Episode of Canadian Mortgage Weekly. Today is January the 27th. We're here at episode 60, which sounds like an awesome round number. It's been great doing all of these videos. And as always, we're joined with Joe Bladek. So, Joe, how are you doing today for episode 60?
I can't believe it, Sam. Episode 60. I can't believe we've hit this milestone at this point. It's been a wonderful ride, and we've definitely covered some amazing and exciting mortgage news events here on Canadian Mortgage Weekly. But yeah, it's going really well. And we were just talking earlier, about the weather. It's still cold out there. It's feeling really chilly. I don't know if you're getting out there to do any outdoor activities these days or not.
I haven't recently. We went out for a skate the other day, I guess, at City Hall in Barrie on the nice little circular rink, which was fun to get out for a bit. But yeah, you can't do it for too long without getting pretty cold.
Oh, I totally get it. And yeah, that's a nice rink there. And there's a lot of rinks that have been opening up around Simcoe County, Barrie, and Aurelia. So that's really neat. And something I need to do myself with my kids. And hopefully I'll be able to do that soon as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It's a good way, things are reopening on the 31st. But, in that meantime bubble where you can't really do anything indoors, it's nice to have something outdoors available for everybody to do.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And these days with the winter and it being so like the sunshine not really shining too many hours during the day, we're just spending more time inside naturally these days. And I don't know. It's hard to stay active, but at the same time, we are actively on top of all these mortgage news and events here today. And one of the things on Canadian Mortgage Weekly we want to get right into is chatting about the statistics and the ever-changing bond yield that we've been following here. So Sam, if we can dive right into that, I would like to, there we go, just be able to bring that up and take a look at that today.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of metrics and they've really actually helped us, amidst COVID, get an idea or at least an indication of what's going to happen in the market. I know we've chatted a lot since COVID that, no one has a crystal ball and has an exact idea of this is the exact steps that the market's going to make. But these metrics really help us get an idea of, where rates are headed or where the market's at. And as of yesterday, the bond yield is sitting at about 1.63%. So it's slightly lower than, we had seen at the end of last week. But if you can look at the graph there, we're starting to level off. So I know that, this could be something to continue, whether we stay in that sort of, moderate range. I know that, when we started to see that spike, there was some uncertainty of, is it going to continue exponentially growing or would it eventually level off? So this could be an indication that, it might level off for a little bit.
Definitely is an indication, Sam. I'm looking at the graph here. We did see that steady rise from September to approximately the end of November. And then, another steady rise from the beginning of January till just a few days ago when we had that slight drop off there. And it does look like it's leveling off. So we'll keep on this metric on Canadian Mortgage Weekly and follow it further because it is a good indication of where fixed rates are headed, as Sam is saying. And we want to make sure that anyone out there shopping for a mortgage is getting the best fixed rate possible. And if you're trying to time the market, making sure you're in tune with this metric is going to be key. So moving on to the next one, we have the CDOR rate that we follow here on Canadian Mortgage Weekly. And Sam, this is a really interesting metric because it's recently changed again going into this week. And it's a little better now to get a variable than it was last week. Which is something I like to see. I'm a big fan of the variable rate mortgage. And with the CDOR variance being where it is at now, down from last week's 0.562 to 0.5475. It's great to see that today. What do you think about that, Sam?
Yeah, it's definitely positive, looking, from even the jump from December 2021 to January 2022, it was up almost, 0.2%. And we, judged the variance based on the prime rate. So seeing it start to come down a little bit, like you're saying, it does, indicate that, it's still favorable to go with the variable rate. And I'm sure that, this slight drop that we saw from, yesterday to today was also maybe a little based on the news that we reported on yesterday from the Bank of Canada's press release.
You bet. Yeah. And with that Bank of Canada announcement, we had a complete shocker from a lot of economists' point of view. We were seeing that the Bank of Canada, well, we were hearing that the Bank of Canada may even raise rates yesterday by a quarter point. But as a matter of fact, they actually held the overnight at 0.25%, which is so far the record low in Canada, and holding steady here until the next rate announcement. So it's another thing to, like, we're getting a lot of calls and questions at our office about variable rate mortgages, whether or not the rate would change at this rate announcement. And I gotta say, Sam, all the news articles were pointing towards an increase. So the fact that we saw no change is quite surprising.
Yeah, I know that it was on a lot of people's minds. And I think you were saying as well, you had heard, an announcement on the radio that, many economists were surprised. I know that almost every article or every, news source that I looked at were predicting, at a minimum, a rate increase of the 0.25%. So I think, yeah, for many, not even just, homeowners and us, it did come as a shock that the Bank of Canada decided to hold that rate.
Yeah, absolutely. Check out our live coverage where we did a special episode 59 of the first Bank of Canada announcement on January 26, 2022. We'd love to be able to have you watch that program where we did a pre-rate show talking about some historical rate changes that have been over the years. And stay tuned for our next live announcement coming up on March the 2nd, 2022. I'm having a hard time saying that year this year.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, I was going to say it'll be good coverage because I know that, for their monetary policies capping off 2021, they were expecting spring. And the last time we saw all of these drops to, its current rate of 0.25% was in March of 2020. So we'll see if we can make, 2 years at that same benchmark rate, or, if we'll start to see, the rate hikes a little bit later than everyone had expected in early January.
Exactly. Stay tuned here on Canadian Mortgage Weekly as we follow this. And one more thing that I wanted to add to this, Sam, and something I heard on the radio yesterday as well, as I was hearing about the surprise on the Bank of Canada not changing the rates. And that other item was that there was a small comment in there about supply chain issues related to the current rate staying steady for the time being. So it was such a small comment, and I'm not sure if it is a big factor for the Bank of Canada right now, but the fact that it was mentioned makes me think that perhaps this supply chain issue we're seeing right now maybe had a little bit of a hand in keeping the rate where it is at today.
Yeah, that's a good point. It very well could have.
Yeah. But anyway, moving on to the national house price average. That's another metric we follow here on Canadian Mortgage Weekly. Really excited about this one because year over year, we have seen some significant increases across Canada. It's 17.7%, which is pretty amazing. National house price average reporting for December of 2021 as per mortgagedashboard.ca, where a lot of our data does come from, a great website for news information and data on that sort of thing, is at 713,500. So quite a large increase from last year, a little bit of a decrease from the prior month, but that's quite expected during the winter months, especially during December.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, well, we'll have to track, where January ends off, because I know it's, not quite where we saw house prices at last January, or even the rate of the market compared to last year. But I think we're also going to be having a special guest on our next week episode. who is going to be covering off some of the more local statistics, looking at the Barrie area specifically, so that we can get an idea. Because, of course, this national house price average is affected by Vancouver market, Toronto market, some very high price points. So by looking, a little more specifically at what we're seeing in Barrie, it'll give us an idea of, a more local trend of where house prices are at, and, tracking where they could go.
That's a great point, Sam. And we're looking forward to that special guest next week, where we will take a look at those local stats. And be able to provide a little bit more of a personalized experience here on Canadian Mortgage Weekly for all of our local viewers here in the Barrie area. But yes, moving on to our feature program today, I would love to be able to introduce our topic, which is 7 ways new to Canada mortgage program gets you into your home faster, which is a pretty great thing to be able to do as someone that has just immigrated to Canada. I know that a lot of folks out there don't know about the new to Canada program. So Sam and I are going to dive into it today. And Sam, I know that you've dealt with a lot of clients as well that have recently immigrated to Canada, that have recently settled here. And tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, I mean, I know that, we've tracked the market, and, where we're expecting a lot of house growth to come, house growth to come from. And I know one thing that we had really highlighted and mentioned was the Canada's immigration targets. I think we have seen, a large influx of immigrants coming to Canada. And, a lot of programs are available for anyone new to Canada, which definitely, it makes it a much faster process. I know we've seen some Canadian first-time buyers having a tough time, but there's some awesome incentives out there for anyone new to Canada to, get into that market faster, and, a couple ways to make it, a little more lenient or a little more easy.
Exactly, Sammy. And that's the whole point, right? That the government wanted to create a program that made it a little bit easier for those that have just recently come to Canada to be able to get into that home, because a lot of these times people that are coming to Canada, they are in their 30s or 40s, they've already have a family, and they already have been established in their prior country. So they need some sort of incentive just to pick up and move their whole entire life to Canada and start over. So having a mortgage program like this really appeals to these families that want to get resettled as quickly as possible. So yeah, the first point that we have on how to get into a house faster with the new to Canada mortgage program, and Sam, we were talking about this earlier, that's the 5% down program that is open to all that are new to Canada. And it's a really good program because there are some misconceptions.
Yeah, that's right. I know there's a lot of first-time buyers, that have immigrated to Canada that are unsure about what the minimum down payment required is. So as long as you're a permanent resident, you can get in with the 5% minimum. I know that, many people, as they come to Canada, they could do, well over that 5%, but it does save. And, we just wanted to clear the air on that one, that, you don't need to wait until you have, maybe 10 or 20% down. As long as you're a permanent resident, you can get in with that 5% down payment. So it does save, a bit of time trying to save up that down payment to reach a higher mark if you can get in already at 5%.
Absolutely, yeah. The second way to get into your home faster using the new to Canada mortgage program is if you're a permanent resident within the first 5 years in Canada, meaning that you've come to Canada and you're still within the first 5 years of being landed in our country here, then you would be able to then get into a mortgage and into a home with minimum 3 months employment history, which is pretty amazing. Because I know that, Sam, for anyone that is a Canadian citizen already, born in Canada, anyone that just gets a job, whether they graduated from high school or college or university, a lot of lenders do like to see a little bit more than 3 months before they do get a mortgage. But quite amazing that, someone new to Canada can just hop in with a 3-month employment history.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, it's just making that process a little bit easier that they don't have to, wait a 3-year period to have 2 years of tax returns. As you're saying, they come in from a country that they were already established. It just helps speed that along a little bit more, that it's only 3 months employment history required.
Yes, absolutely. So then we have another point, number three. That is, if you haven't established a credit scoring candidate as of yet, and also within first 5 years, you're able to get into a home with no FICO score, which is a pretty amazing thing, because I know for any other Canadian that has been born in Canada, that has been raised here, we need to come to the lender with a credit score. We can't just say, hey, we pay everything on time. You can look at our bank statements. However, that is an option with the New to Canada program. And Sam, you've helped a lot of our clients with that program as well.
Yeah, we have. The documentation that a lot of the lenders will require is they can just use any insurance statements or any phone bills, and showing those amounts coming out, again, as you're saying, on time. So they are a bit more lenient with that, as you're still establishing your credit. It's a really good way to get ahead.
Yeah, excellent points there, Sam. So if you're waiting for your permanent resident status, you might also think that it's probably a good idea to wait until you receive that to get started. Well, point number 4 today is that you actually don't need to wait. And Sam, you've had some experience on this as well, from people that you've known, but you can still qualify for the mortgage and get the rate held before your permanent residency is fully approved.
Absolutely, yeah. As long as your permanent residency application is in process, then you can still qualify. Essentially as a permanent resident. I know that especially with COVID, the wait times for the application status, getting it through the system, I know that they are a number of months behind, and it can be a lengthy process. The fact that you can apply while it's still in process is a huge bonus, because some people could be waiting a year to sometimes over a year before they even hear back if they've achieved the permanent residency has been accepted and approved. So this is an awesome way to sort of step ahead of the game and get into the market before that point.
You bet. Yes, especially with COVID, the application process may be delayed sometimes by an extreme amount. So just by getting in sooner, you're going to get yourself in the foot a lot, in line a lot faster. But yeah, if you do not have permanent residency status at the end of the day, perhaps you are here on a work permit in Canada, or maybe a non-resident, there are still ways to get into a home. One of the ways as work permit, Sam, was we have a 10% down program, and there are other ways that we can get you into a home that way.
Yeah, absolutely. If you're somebody who has come on a work permit and has the capital, or those assets to be able to put 10% down, that is something that we can do as well. So, if you don't want to go through the permanent residency process, or you're not in a position to, or like you're saying, Joe, you're here on just a work visa for the moment, that shouldn't stop you if, your desire is to own a home and you want to get into the market sooner rather than waiting for the whole process. You can get in with 10% down.
Exactly. So number 6, because we have so many points today on our program, New to Canada is such an amazing program. We love promoting it. Number 6, lenders, a lot of mortgage lenders, banks, they offer free credit cards without credit history required to apply, to help you build credit here in Canada. You can apply for them as soon as you get a social insurance number, I believe, here in Canada, which is pretty amazing and can really help you as well, because not only then are you showing up to that lender, but you're also showing up with more than the minimum requirements.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know that, the one of the biggest factors in what goes into calculating your credit score is credit history. So if you can get one of these free credit cards without any credit history already, on your land-in date, you can start, that step ahead. Once you have your social insurance number, you can start building that credit and lengthen that credit history, which is going to help your score in the future.
That's a great point there. Anyone that would like some help with the credit cards and how to get those and get set up, give us a call or a private message. We'll be able to set you up with a lender to get you that credit card. And the last point, number 7, Sam, is new to Canada buyers still have access to all the other rebates, tax incentives, and other programs available to those who are Canadian citizens. And that there's quite a list of programs there. I know that we don't have really time to go over it here on Canadian Mortgage Weekly, but Sam, tell us about that webinar for first-time homebuyers where anyone can join in.
Yeah, absolutely. Tonight at 7 p.m., we are hosting a first-time home buyers webinar where, again, we will cover off, as you said, there is a lot of them. So it really does help to have an evening webinar where we can run through all of them in a bit more detail. But there are a lot of, government incentives, tax rebates, grants, ways to get money back when you're buying. And the beauty of, being a new to Canada and getting in through some of these new to Canada programs is that all of them are stackable. So you can have, get in on a new to Canada incentive while having these grants and rebates as well. You're not limited to one or the other. So that's definitely a positive.
Yeah, it is definitely a positive. And we love to see our clients take advantage of all these credits and rebates, just any money they can get back, because buying a home can be such a stressful event and very financially draining. So any of those rebates or credits really help that home buyer get settled in. I know that there's a tax credit available where you can get money back on your tax refund the year after you buy. And that's a nice little credit that a lot of people forget about. And just nice to have that money back at the end of the day. But yeah, join Sam tonight for that webinar. And Sam Thompson is a mortgage agent with us for like almost 2 years now. Sam, you moved here originally from Ottawa, in the Barrie area, have a puppy, married, and it's great to always have you on Canadian Mortgage Weekly. Thank you for being here today.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me on the episode. I was happy to be a part of it and cover off all these awesome, incentives and processes for new to Canada. And of course, it's always good having you on, Joe. Been in the industry for 11 years now, living up in Aurelia with your wife and 2 kids, but super knowledgeable and actually passionate about mortgages, which is exactly what you want to hear from your mortgage broker. So again, thanks so much for having me today, Joe.
Thank you very much, Sam. And yes, very passionate about mortgages. So passionate that we have here Canadian Mortgage Weekly, Canada's video mortgage news podcast, where we provide all the news metrics on your mortgage and home buying process. And join us next week on episode 61, where we will have a special guest, seasoned real estate agent in the Barrie area. Give us a rundown on the market statistics, as well as some creative ways to get into the market and some proven strategies. I know, Sam, that our special guest is coming with a lot of success stories that she'll be able to share with our viewers next week.
Yeah, it's going to be a really good episode. Again, having those success stories and covering off, some creative ways to get into the market, because 2022 is definitely a year to get creative, especially if you're a first-time buyer.
Absolutely. Thanks everyone for watching. Don't forget to follow, like, comment, share. And if you have a question for Sam or myself, send us a private message and we can get in touch with you and get started on your file today.